Tonight in Venezuela, the race to find survivors 2 days after back-to-back earthquakes. Plucked from rubble, moments of hope amid the desperate search, and the volunteers stepping up.
We don't see any authorities helping. It's the people helping each other.
CBC News is in the region. Renovating 24 Sussex Drive, a design competition funded by donations.
We will not let it crumble. We will set it right.
And a rare look inside the rundown official residence. Maple Leaf fans celebrate its #1 draft pick, Yukon's Gavin McKenna.
This isn't what I imagined when I was a young kid. It's so much better.
How he's making history and the hopes for the NHL's long-suffering Leafs.
From CBC News, this is The National with Erica Johnson.
Thank you for joining us. A frantic effort is underway in Venezuela tonight as the window for finding survivors of Wednesday's back-to-back earthquakes narrows. More than 900 people are now confirmed dead, but tens of thousands of others are still missing. The scale of the work ahead is staggering. Entire buildings are collapsed, entire families feared buried. People are digging with whatever tools they can find, and incredibly, they are having some success. Survivors pulled out, battered but alive. International help is arriving in the country. Search teams, medical supplies, and funding are being sent from all over the world. And as Katie Simpson shows us in this unfolding nightmare, it is badly needed.
In a disaster of this scope, this scale, there seems to be no end to the pain. But 2 days after twin earthquakes caused mass destruction across parts of northern Venezuela, there are still a few rare moments of hope. A child clings to a rescuer lowered to safety from what's left of an apartment. A toddler is pulled from the rubble of another. And one trapped man even recorded his agonizing rescue, capturing the moment he and another woman were pulled to safety. But rescues will become more challenging with every hour that passes. Amid the widespread destruction, there's an urgent need for shelter, food, and water.
Estamos en el segundo día.
The president of the National Assembly called it the greatest tragedy the country has suffered in recent decades. Foreign aid is now arriving, planes from multiple countries with basic necessities and disaster relief teams, including a deployment by the U.S. military, part of its new relationship with Venezuela. After the U.S. raid to seize then-President Nicolas Maduro on narco-terrorism charges. Before the earthquakes, the Venezuelan government already struggled to meet the needs of its people. Years of corruption and economic mismanagement by the Maduro regime all but destroyed public and emergency services.
We don't see any authorities helping. It's the people helping each other.
Alex Hamilton volunteered to bring food to families in some of the hardest hit areas, witnessing scenes of destruction and failed rescue efforts.
You start seeing bodies that are being, accumulated, and they have no way to transport them to any morgue.
When you close your eyes tonight, is there a moment that sort of stands out to you that you'll think about?
It's the bodies, piled up, I guess, and covered up. Also, the kids just rushing to the motorcycle just to get the cookies out of my bags. And I was even scared because there were so many people and they're so desperate, and it felt like a war zone.
As part of the relief efforts, Canada has pledged $5 million in aid, with the logistics being sorted out here in Colombia, since Canada doesn't have a diplomatic relationship with Venezuela.
And Katie, Alex, the man you spoke with in your story, he's not part of any aid group?
He's not. He's an English teacher by day and a skydiving instructor on the weekends. He just wanted to do something. Now, he says he went in on his motorcycle because the roads are so bad. And from his perspective, he doesn't see how it's going to be possible to get heavy machinery and equipment into the hardest hit areas.
All right, thanks for this. Katie Simpson in Bogota, Colombia tonight. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister says this country is looking to go beyond its initial $5 million pledge of humanitarian aid for Venezuela.
We are working out of our mission in Bogota. I've been in touch with my UK counterpart Secretary Yvette Cooper to see if there's an opportunity for us to work together.
Anand says Canada is working with its mission in Colombia to support the approximately 800 Canadians who are registered in Venezuela. After years sitting empty and falling deeper into disrepair, Mark Carney is launching a national design contest and fundraising campaign to restore 24 Sussex Drive. Ashley Burke now with the plan for a big home renovation the country will be watching.
It's Canada's most famous fixer-upper. A rare glimpse inside what's left of 24 Sussex Drive.
I mean, it is literally stripped down to the studs and barely held together.
Rooms that once hosted royals and world leaders, now filled with asbestos warnings and rodent traps. Mark Carney called it an embarrassment and says it's now time to act.
Our core role as government is to improve the country, leave it better than we found it.
His plan to launch a design competition with the jury. The winning Canadian team would turn this into a place fit for future prime ministers.
We are absolutely delighted that a decision has been made to move forward with something. It's the not knowing and the just sitting unoccupied, which makes it the house a recipe for demolition by neglect.
It gets a little drafty here in the wintertime.
Okay.
It's been joked about for decades. Past prime ministers unwilling to take the heat and use taxpayer dollars to renovate. Carney's trying to avoid that too by crowdfunding money through a nonpartisan charity, an idea the Conservatives are skeptical about.
Every time the Liberals come up with a scheme or a program or proposal, they find ways to make their friends rich at the expense of Canadians. They have shown themselves to put themselves in conflicts of interest.
There will be a limit on how much Canadians can donate. The list of donors made public and corporations banned.
We've been holier than the Pope on this one, because the bottom line is every other building in Ottawa is being renovated and nobody's saying anything. And the Prime Minister's residence has had rats in it and asbestos, and we've done nothing.
The winner of the design competition will be selected by July 1st, 2027, but it's unclear when the construction would actually start. Carney says he won't be living here, but he's doing this work so that future prime ministers can. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
An 18-year-old from Whitehorse is making history tonight. Gavin McKenna is the first player from Yukon selected first overall in the NHL draft. He's considered a rising star, and as Lisa Shing tells us, the Toronto Maple Leafs hope he'll turn the team around.
Mr. McKenna, we would like to draft you to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Canada's biggest pop star, Justin Bieber, just welcomed Canada's next hockey star to the stage at the NHL draft. Gavin McKenna selected first overall by the Toronto Maple Leafs.
This isn't what I imagined when I was a young kid, so it's so much better.
Now the Leafs hoping he can be that key ingredient to help it end its 59-year championship drought, the longest in NHL history. The league's most valuable franchise, a team with massive reach and a deeply loyal fan base who watched it all go down, along with McKenna's hometown fan base in Whitehorse. At the draft in Buffalo, excitement.
He's a lead playmaker, got a lot of skill, got a lot of swagger as well.
Is this the year, Danica?
Yes, I think this is our year.
McKenna, one-timer, he scores!
Known for his elite passing, the 18-year-old forward has been breaking scoring records at Penn State University in the NCAA. Now the pros.
Pressure is a privilege, so when you go to a fan base like that and you do well, it's the best spot to be.
People who inspired me to play hockey were my parents.
His success, a product of family and community support, and his own determination.
And that's just somebody that wasn't satisfied with where he was at. It wasn't coaching, it wasn't anything. It was just him wanting more.
Now McKenna is the first overall draft pick from Yukon, only the second Indigenous player after Dale McCourt, drafted to the Detroit Red Wings in 1977.
Grandma made this.
McKenna already using his star power to honor his heritage. His grandfather, a member of the Trondequetchin First Nation, a survivor of Canada's residential school system. At the rink in Whitehorse, where he played as a child, people couldn't be prouder.
He's smashing all these barriers down and he's doing it as himself. It's pretty awesome.
Now he has an even bigger platform. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Buffalo, New York.
BC's consumer protection regulator has launched an investigation into StubHub after complaints from people who say they didn't receive their World Cup tickets. The probe follows a CBC News investigation that revealed StubHub canceled thousands of already purchased World Cup tickets. StubHub has blamed the event organizer, FIFA, and its ticketing technology. The investigation will determine if any laws were broken under BC's Ticket Sales Act. 2 weeks into the World Cup, the anticipated boom for the hotel industry in Canada's host cities appears to be more like a bust. As Thomas Dagla tells us, vacancy numbers are higher than they were this time last year.
Kicking off summer with World Cup vibes, Toronto is brimming with soccer-mad visitors. But new numbers confirm hotels are far from full.
Booking was pretty easy. We just found a place that was right next door.
Raising questions about the tournament's true economic impact for cities like this one and Vancouver.
We planned 6 months in advance, and it was all right.
Consider this Toronto City Hall report last year, citing a prediction of up to $940 million in positive economic output for the region.
We're also going to see the tourist sector energize, the hotel business and others.
But the World Cup frenzy appears to have discouraged other tourists from coming. Industry data shows Toronto hotel occupancy actually dropped to 72% last week, down from 86% at the same time last year.
What we have seen is some displacement of meetings and conventions and business events that would usually happen in June.
Plus, in the spring, tournament organizers FIFA abruptly canceled hotel bookings across all host cities, leaving thousands of rooms everywhere empty. And when it comes to mega events like this and the money they bring to cities, this researcher finds
most of the projections that are put out by organizations are pretty inflated.
Still, BC's tourism board is banking on a global audience seeing stunning West Coast views in the hopes of generating $1 billion over 5 years.
That's really because of the visibility that hosting these games generates.
$1 billion is the same amount Canadian taxpayers are said to be shelling out for these 13 World Cup matches. Whether it was all worth it might be debated for years. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
An exhibit at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights is being met with major pushback tonight before it even opens. Its focus, the mass displacement of Palestinians. Cameron McIntosh explains why some in the Jewish community say it doesn't tell the whole story.
Okay, so can you take me through the exhibit here?
Yes, Palestinian Uprooted.
Small exhibit, big controversy.
Nakba is a word that means the catastrophe, and Palestinians use it to describe their forced displacement.
The exhibit, Palestine Uprooted, exploring the displacement of 750,000 Palestinians during the creation of Israel after the Second World War, and the consequences of it today.
We understand that there's critique and there's opinions about what it should be and what it should include. And we've tried to explain and rationalize why this exhibit is about Palestinian Canadians.
It's 2 panels, a few paragraphs, brief descriptions of the Nakba, along with fighting in Gaza and Israel's current occupations of East Jerusalem and the West Bank, along with some videos. The Jewish community is upset, calling it a singular telling of a complicated history that also saw Israel attacked and more than 800,000 Jews displaced.
When a national museum of human rights presents a one-sided position, it reframes an understanding of history, and context is critical.
The Arab-Israeli war is addressed in another gallery. Citing a lack of openness with the Jewish community, the museum's only Jewish board member resigned.
I do think there's been an activist ideological narrative being put forward by the creation team.
It is not the place of the minister anymore.
Earlier this month, the federal heritage minister resisted calls to intervene. Included in the exhibit are 5 videos, one featuring Fuad Sahoun, whose family was driven from Haifa when he was 4.
We were never allowed to go back, so we lost our properties, we lost our bank accounts, we lost our furniture, our cars, and our identity.
The exhibit's curator insists care was taken but the focus is clear.
We came to this project with an awareness that Palestinian voices are often marginalized, spoken over.
With that, this exhibit will open as is, exploring a divisive topic at a divisive time. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A state of emergency is in effect in Russia-controlled Crimea after one of the largest Ukrainian drone attacks of the war. All fuel sales there have stopped, and some areas have no power. Ukraine has stepped up drone strikes in recent days, including on energy sites in Crimea. Overnight, Russia says it intercepted 600 of them, targeting a dozen regions. A former security advisor to the U.S. president is facing potential prison time over his misuse of classified information. John Bolton pleaded guilty today. Paul Hunter has details of the case involving the one-time Trump ally turned critic.
On his way into the courthouse just outside Washington, D.C., John Bolton said nothing. Inside, he told the judge, "I'm sorry." And
John Robert Bolton II pled guilty in federal court to the unlawful retention of national defense information.
it represents a mighty fall for the one-time national security advisor to U.S. President Donald Trump. Bolton now faces up to 5 years in prison, a $2.5 million fine, and a complete loss of his federal pension.
As Mr. Bolton just admitted, he put our national security at grave risk in violation of the law.
When the FBI raided Bolton's home and office last year, among the findings, more than 1,000 pages of notes and diaries of classified meetings in which he'd taken part. Meant as raw material for a memoir he'd later write, authorities say some were emailed to two people without security clearance, believed to be his wife and daughter. Plus,
a cyber actor believed to be associated with the Islamic Republic of Iran hacked Mr. Bolton's personal email account and gained unauthorized access to some of the classified and national defense information in that account.
He's highly respected by everybody in this room.
Back in 2018, Donald Trump had nothing but praise for Bolton, but their relationship soured, and Bolton became a fierce critic of Trump, including when Trump himself was indicted for mishandling classified documents after Trump's first term in office.
The secrets were put at risk, and that alone is enough to be criminal.
The case against Trump was later tossed out by a Trump-appointed judge, then abandoned by federal prosecutors after Trump won re-election. Bolton will be sentenced in October, said that U.S. Attorney for Maryland after the proceedings. No one is above the law. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
More than 5 million students in Texas will soon be studying the Bible in public school. The Republican-led Texas State Board of Education has added biblical children's stories and Bible passages to its required reading. Critics say the new rules favor Christianity over other religions and blur the separation of church and state enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. Canada has a new law criminalizing the distribution of AI-generated deepfakes.
I have felt like I have been screaming into the void.
Why some say it's not enough. Next. Paris brings new rules to manage a stifling heat wave. The struggle to keep cool with no AC. Plus, an iconic Canadian landmark celebrates a big milestone.
So today is the CN Tower's 50th birthday.
She's looking great for 50.
We're back in 2. Debris falling from Beijing's tallest skyscraper after a small aircraft crashed into it. The building was said to have been evacuated and the area closed off, but officials gave no details about what happened. Amid Europe's heat wave, people in Paris have been banned from drinking alcohol in public places this weekend and from buying booze after 6 p.m. The move aimed at lessening the strain on overwhelmed hospitals, and the Paris Pride March has been postponed due to stretched emergency services. Europe's struggle with soaring temperatures is exacerbated by a lack of air conditioning. Only about 20% of European households have it. And as Anand Ram tells us, AC may be more of a problem than a solution.
From below, Parisians deal with another day of an extreme heat wave. From above, you can see what's making that worse. The canopies of their concrete jungle are made of zinc, those iconic metal roofs becoming an oven for Parisians living inside. And the common refrain, I don't have air conditioning at home. Across France, only as much as a quarter of all households have AC. In Spain, it's higher, around 40%. In the UK, it's just 14%. But while ACs are increasingly needed, especially for the vulnerable, they're not always the ones in control.
In many places in Europe, people don't live in their own houses. They live in dwellings rented by someone else. So the ones who would benefit from it is not always the ones who can take the decision to implement it.
And there's another problem for cities. Keeping the coolness in means pumping the heat out.
In very dense city spaces, air conditioning can even it basically transports heat from the buildings to the urban environment and can create an even stronger urban heat island effect.
As much as a couple of degrees, still experts acknowledge ACs are needed in moderation and in combination with other solutions such as cooling shelters and greener city spaces. But there's also a wider problem. ACs running off of a fossil fuel-powered grid drive up emissions and climate change, which is what has made these heat waves more extreme in the first place. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
Returning to our top story, the deadly dual earthquakes in Venezuela.
Shaking was twice as strong for that second earthquake compared to the first earthquake, and the energy release was about 3 times greater.
What made the quakes so destructive? And Russia's war on Ukraine reaches Moscow.
When the momentum is against you in a war, that is a much more dangerous period of time. So I think there is some danger that he's facing.
Where that leaves Vladimir Putin and his grip on power. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world next. Canada now has a new law criminalizing the distribution of AI-generated sexualized deepfakes, but it didn't come quickly enough for a Halifax woman who was targeted by an old classmate. Kayla Hounsell explains the legal change now in place.
It's too little, too late.
Too little, too late, because a new law criminalizing the sharing of nude deepfakes is coming into effect after the man who created one of her has already been acquitted.
I have felt like I have been screaming into the void for the past almost 2.5 years.
Her identity is protected by a publication ban. According to court documents, her former high school classmate admitted taking photos of her and some other classmates from social media, using artificial intelligence to make them appear naked, then sending the images to others. He was charged with distributing intimate images without consent. In March, a Nova Scotia judge acquitted him, ruling the synthetic images did not meet the definition of intimate images as then defined in Canada's criminal code. Much that is unacceptable is not criminal, she wrote in her decision. The law does not reflect the technology that exists today.
Accordingly, the motion is adopted.
Now it does. A brand new law changes the definition of intimate images to include a visual representation that is made by any electronic or mechanical means, including by means of artificial intelligence software.
This is a change that should have been made before, but it's never too late to do the right thing.
The woman in the Halifax case says she's overjoyed others will be protected, but she says more is needed to truly help women and girls when it comes to this new crime. Experts agree.
We have suggested an independent regulator where a victim can say, I found a deepfake of me. What are my options? And then this place could provide options and also help them pursue the options.
With her criminal case closed, this woman says she's suing the man who made a deepfake of her.
This is another attempt at justice.
She's also calling for more education on deepfakes and more resources to help victims navigate the justice system. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Halifax.
In the breakdown tonight, what made the quakes in Venezuela so deadly? And Vladimir Putin facing domestic discontent over the war in Ukraine.
It's hitting Putin's bottom line.
How Ukrainian strikes on Russia's biggest cities and oil refineries are shifting the mood in Moscow.
I think there is probably some unease growing inside Russia.
The impact on Putin's popularity at home. But first,
in Venezuela, top priority, search and rescue.
Tens of thousands are still missing after those deadly quakes in Venezuela, and the humanitarian crisis is just beginning. These images show the magnitude of the destruction in the coastal city of La Guaira, including this 106-room hotel before and decimated after the two quakes struck, and the only gate remaining standing at this apartment building. Hundreds of buildings reduced to rubble. Ashley Fraser looks at why these quakes had such a devastating impact.
So what makes earthquakes like the ones that hit Venezuela so destructive? This seismologist says it's because of their scale, having two earthquakes 39 seconds apart, and how close the shaking occurred at surface level.
What makes an earthquake destructive is the combination of the size of the earthquake and proximity to major urban centers.
Let's look at the difference between the two earthquakes back to back. The first one was 7.2 in magnitude, the second 7.5, but that 0.3 makes a big difference. The magnitude scale is logarithmic, which means it goes up by a factor of 10 when you go from 7 to 8, for example.
That difference of 0.3 means that the shaking was twice as strong for that second earthquake compared to the first earthquake, and the energy release was about 3 times greater.
Plus, Cassidy says the shallow depth of these earthquakes matters. The first one was less than 22 kilometers below the Earth's surface, and the second one was just 10 kilometers deep.
Which means that you're close enough for what we call surface ruptures. Certainly more destructive the shallower the earthquake is.
And why was the earthquake so strong? That comes down to the movement of the tectonic plates. Venezuela lies along the boundary of both the South American plate and the Caribbean plate, which slide horizontally past each other, creating more seismic activity in the area.
The Caribbean plate that is moving to the east. It's moving at about 2 centimeters each year. But over a century, that represents 2 meters of movement. Just like if you're bending a stick, you can bend it for a certain amount of time, eventually it breaks. When the fault breaks, that's the earthquake.
But while this energy has been released, Cassidy says it's likely that aftershocks will continue for a while.
We will expect the aftershocks to continue for months or perhaps even longer. So that's the main thing to expect. Landslides, soil liquefaction, all of the secondary effects that go with these large earthquakes.
So while the worst of the shaking has stopped, Venezuelans may expect more damage to come.
As search and rescue efforts intensify across Venezuela, the UN says more than 30 international teams, including 100 dogs, are being deployed to assist. Coming up, more than 4 years into Russia's invasion, the war is increasingly being felt in Moscow.
There's been a pretty strong shift in the mood of the business elite, the political elite.
So, is it affecting support for Putin's war? That's next. Ukrainian drones are hitting more targets deep inside Russia.
When the momentum is against you in a war, that is a much more dangerous period of time.
Why Kyiv's new strategy doesn't only carry military, but potentially political implications for Putin. Terence McKenna looks at the changing dynamics of the battlefield and the impact on support for Putin.
The Ukraine war has taken Russian citizens into unfamiliar territory. Last week, Ukraine unleashed an unprecedented attack against Moscow. Residents saw drones racing over their heads. The major oil refinery on the outskirts of the city was targeted repeatedly. At the top of a huge oil tank flying into the air. Evidence suggests that Russian jamming has caused Ukraine drones to go off course, and here apartment buildings were hit. None of these videos were allowed on the main evening newscast in Russia, nor was there any mention of the attack. Recent public opinion polls show support for the war and for Putin's governing party is dropping. What does all this mean for Vladimir Putin's future? Pulitzer Prize-winning Russia expert Anne Applebaum has covered the war for Atlantic Magazine. She participated in the recent GlobeSec Security Conference in Prague.
The most important thing to note is that Putin's war has finally reached Moscow. That means that Muscovites have had their cell phone service cut off, they've had trouble using ATMs, they have trouble functioning normally in the city, and also they've been subject for the first time to real drone campaigns, attacks on factories that have caused pretty spectacular explosions around the city, and they finally see the war and they're beginning to understand that it's not that they're not winning. And not only are they not winning, but the war is coming closer. That doesn't mean that Putin is leaving tomorrow or that the war is ending tomorrow, but it means there's been a pretty strong shift in the mood of the business elite, the political elite, and other people who do still have influence on Putin's thinking.
The Ukrainian attacks on Moscow are nothing compared to their attacks on arms depots and oil facilities around the country. This factory in Russian-occupied Donetsk makes powerful explosives. This oil facility in Tyumen, Siberia, is over 2,000 kilometers from the Ukraine border. These attacks are starting to have an impact on ordinary Russians.
Мы не защищены и не знаем. И каждый день ложимся спать со страхом.
А что еще сказать? Привыкли к этому.
Короче, упадническое настроение. Ничего хорошего мы пока не ожидаем.
Vladimir Solovyov is Russia's most famous TV propagandist, a reliable conduit of the Putin worldview. Lately, he has been denouncing Russian citizens who share videos of Ukrainian attacks on Russia. He thinks they are traitors.
Потому что страстное желание все фотографировать и выкладывать – это какой-то зуд в жопе, что ли?
Well, so we don't know how much those spectacular pictures really circulate inside Russia. But even to the extent that they do, they're pretty clear proof also that Russians are not safe, that they haven't defeated Ukraine, that the war is still going, that they're paying a high price for it. So every time one of those pictures appears in somebody's internet group chat, I think it has significance.
Soviet-born political journalist Zoya Shevtlovich says the oil attacks are having a big effect on the war.
Firstly, the Russians have to scramble to defend against that, so that takes their attention away from being able to push into Ukraine and towards defending their own infrastructure. Obviously, financially, that's a huge imposition as well, because this is how the Russians are able to continue waging war. They continue getting money for their oil. When you hit their oil facilities, when you impose some of these really tough sanctions, again, there are more sanctions that have been imposed, it's hitting Putin's bottom line.
Putin may be worried about another unusual phenomenon in Russia. Rabid Russian pro-war bloggers who have seemingly been turning against him. The first was Igor Strelkov, who gained fame as a leader of Putin's troops in Russian-occupied Ukraine at the beginning of the war. He turned against Putin and was sent to prison for 4 years. His colleague Pavel Gubarev is also a strong Putin backer who began criticizing the Russian leader's conduct of the war.
И наши бойцы, наши братья стали гибнуть в результате неверного планирования, неверной оценки боевой ситуации.
Putin propagandist Solovyov began attacking Gubarev.
Я слушал выступление этого предателя и подонка Губарева. Он предатель и подонок. Какое же ты жалкое ничтожество. Просто жалкое ничтожество.
Ukrainian journalist Eugene Slavny directs the United 24 TV network in Kyiv.
You need to understand that they're still pro-war bloggers. So they might be against the Putin, but they're still supporting the war. And this is what you need to understand, that it's not only the Putin's war, this is unfortunately the war of Russian people against Ukrainian people. And we have huge amount of Russians supporting the war.
At the beginning of the war, Putin forced his civilian and military leaders to take turns publicly backing the Ukraine attack on national television, making it hard for them to later say they were against it. At what point might he lose support from the elites? Retired American General Ben Hodges commanded the U.S. Army in Europe.
Well, I think there is probably some unease growing inside Russia. I imagine that the military at some point is going to say, that's it. President Putin, you have ruined us, our reputation. You've ruined us. We're a wreck. So I could imagine the military pressure. I can also imagine the possibility of some of the oligarchs saying, you've ruined us. We can't go anywhere. We've lost so much financially. So pressure from that side.
Mikhail Khodorkovsky is called Putin's oldest enemy. He was the richest man in Russia, the head of the giant oil company Yukos, until he challenged Putin in a televised meeting about corruption, which led to him being arrested and sentenced to 10 years in a Siberian gulag. Now an opposition leader in exile, he says Putin is worried about the decline in public support for the war in Russia.
This is important because for Putin, Russian society is the foundation of his power over the security structures. If Russian society stops supporting Putin, his only support will be the secret services, and he'll become dependent on them. He doesn't want this.
Many have suggested that at some point Russia's business leaders, the oligarchs, might turn against Putin because Western sanctions have ruined their luxurious lives and cost them a fortune. Khodorkovsky says that is mistaken.
The West considered this business class to be oligarchs, meaning people who possess not only access to big money, but also to power. It's a huge mistake by the West, because the West doesn't understand the system of power in Russia. Those so-called Russian oligarchs are actually just tools of Putin's political machine, not independent actors.
A recent leaked Secret Service report from a European government suggested that Vladimir Putin has become a lot more paranoid lately, that he never sleeps in the same place, that his bodyguards have noticeably increased security measures around him, that he is worried about a coup d'etat.
When the momentum is against you in a war, that is a much more dangerous period of time. So I think there is some danger that he's facing. And if I was in his group around him, his siloviki, maybe I might be seeing whether there's a nice spot for my knife to go into his back at this point. But I do think we're a little far from that point at this stage because he is heavily protected.
Yes, the fact that Putin is paranoid and that his paranoia is growing is true. It is visible. It is visible both in his schedule and in his speeches. And this, of course, doesn't improve the mood of his inner circle. Repressions in Russia are growing.
Cold War historian Michael Kimmage of the Kennan Institute in Washington thinks discontent in Russia is not a serious threat to Putin.
For a man who has to face no elections, who completely controls the Russian media, who has no opposition parties to deal with, so he's not a man who's under any great deal of domestic political pressure.
The leaked European intelligence report even suggested that someone who could lead a military coup d'etat against Putin is his longtime friend Sergei Shoigu, who is supposedly angry because he was dismissed by Putin as defense minister and shuffled to a much less important post.
When I read that Mr. Shoigu is preparing a coup, it makes me laugh, because I've known Shoigu for 35 years, and he's not the kind of person capable of organizing a coup. There will be no threat to Putin from him.
After the European intelligence report made big news, Putin made sure to include former Defense Minister Shoigu in his delegation showing loyalty at the May Victory Day parade this year. A parade that didn't have the normal display of expensive military equipment because Putin was apparently worried that the event could be hit by Ukrainian drones. Then he ostentatiously drove himself to a meeting with his old school teacher, so the cameras could see that he was not being overly protected by bodyguards. He apparently wants to demonstrate that he is still in full control.
From your point of view, is Putin getting weaker or stronger?
He's clearly not winning the war. More people understand that he's not winning the war. But who knows? And that may make him more aggressive and more. Maybe he has a greater desire to show how powerful he is. We don't know.
Putin has bragged about his Oreshnik missile that travels at 10 times the speed of sound, that is nuclear capable and can hit multiple targets at the same time. He used it against Kyiv last month and has threatened to use it much more.
What are the chances as he becomes more paranoid that he becomes more desperate and dangerous?
I think those chances are real. We've seen that there's been a high degree of ruthlessness from the beginning of the war. So at the very beginning of the war, Russia struck Ukraine cities, civilian populations, and that's been ongoing for the last 4.5 years. There are not too many weapons that Putin is not using in Ukraine, but he can always do more. And he can always go after things like the water supply, the electricity supply, which he's been doing, but you can up the ante there and really try to create a civilian catastrophe of Ukraine, a refugee zone, a place that's hard to inhabit.
How will Putin respond to the attacks inside Russia? On a major media outlet, a prominent Russian parliamentarian has called for the killing of all civilian inhabitants in the Ukrainian cities closest to the front line. Alexei Zhuravlov.
Я бы уничтожил все вместе с людьми. Да, абсолютно.
Putin and his senior generals have already been indicted for war crimes at the International Court in The Hague. Will they double down on their civilian attacks?
In the latest prisoner swap between the two sides, Russia and Ukraine handed over 160 soldiers each today, hours after Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had authorized a 40-day operation against Russian targets. Coming up, a Toronto icon marks half a century.
I think that reflects very well on Canada as a whole because it shows what we can accomplish.
The CN Tower turns 50 next in our moment. You're looking at the Toronto skyline, and of course, it's pretty hard to miss the CN Tower, a landmark that represents the city around the world. The tower opened its doors to the public 50 years ago today. So tonight, the CN Tower's 50th birthday is our moment.
To 50 years of ruling the sky, happy birthday, CN Tower!
So today is the CN Tower's 50th birthday.
She's looking great for 50.
Rising about 850 feet above ground, and it's growing at the amazing rate of 16 feet a day.
The construction on the CN Tower started on February 6th, 1973. It reached its full height on April 2nd, 1975, and it opened to the public on June 26th, 1976. On April 2nd, 1975, the last piece of the CN Tower's antenna was lifted by helicopter. This was a Canadian achievement. I think that reflects very well on Canada as a whole because it shows what we can accomplish.
Yeah, no, she's looking great, really. She's looking really great.
I'm 45 and looks better than me.
The city of Toronto is significantly different now than it was in 1976. The CN Tower has borne witness to that, has watched as the city has shaped and changed around it.
I like how they light it up in different colors for different events. Apparently, 1,537 people worked creating this tower, building it. The archivist says the only list of everyone who worked on this tower is on a piece of paper that is buried in the concrete of the CN Tower. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Erica Johnson in Vancouver. Take care.